academic 8.5 notes, how to graph quadratic equations. Okay, guys, let's bring it together. I gave you guys time to get all the energy out. All right, there you go. All right, so yeah, first there's two different ways. There are two different ways to graph quadratic equations, and we're going to talk about the first way first, okay? So the first way is called vertex form, okay? So what you can do is if you're giving a quadratic equation, so an equation with exponent 2, you can complete the square and get it in vertex form, which looks like this, okay? Does anyone remember where we've talked about vertex form for something else?
Yeah.
Yes, what?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where have we seen a vertex form?
On the graph.
Okay, yes. We talked about it for absolute value.
Yeah, see, that's what it is.
Okay.
I remember.
It's almost the exact same thing. The only difference is instead of absolute value bars, we have parentheses squared. Okay? So that's vertex form. But like everything has the same function. Everything functions the same. So my h here, right, that's the number. That's the opposite of the number that's inside here next to x. So whatever number's inside your parentheses here, the opposite of that is going to be your h, okay? Whatever number's outside your parentheses, the same as that is going to be your k. And your vertex, anyone remember what our vertex is going to be? Good. A little warmer. H comma k. There you go. So Tina was onto it. H comma k. That's my vertex. Okay. We didn't talk about axis of symmetry. My axis of symmetry is a line. It's a line that like goes up and down, and splits my parabola in half. Oh, do you guys remember parabola from algebra 1? Okay, so the graph of a quadratic equation is called a parabola. It looks like a U. Looks like a U. Looks like U.
Look like me.
Yeah. All right. So if you're looking for like a math Valentine's Day joke, just be like, hey. This is like a parabola. It reminds me of you. The axis of symmetry. That word is way too far. The axis of symmetry is going to be x equals h. X equals h. Write that down. Axis of symmetry, x equals h, okay?
Yes, sir.
You guys are competing with E period, okay?
Yes, like there's no doubt about it.
E period right now, we're up to like Brooklyn net status. Okay, we're a little.
Don't get it.
They have like a lot of like people who are like very good at algebra in that class.
So there's no one
So you guys are like the Bucks. You guys are like the dark horse. You guys like talk a lot, but you do like really well on the test.
I'm pretty sure I was second.
The Bucks are our favorite. Okay. Your A. So let's talk about A real quick. Let's talk about A. So your A is going to be your number. All right, Andrew. Your A is going to be your number in front of your parentheses that multiplies your parentheses. If A is less than 0, our graph does something called it opens down. It opens down. What that means is the U, so it looks like a U. It's going to be an upside down U if A is negative. If A is positive, it's going to open up. Okay? Open up. Okay? Open up. All right. My domain is going to be all reals. It's always going to be all reals. And we'll talk about the range in a bit. Yes. What's up?
Oh, no, I was
Just stretching.
wait.
In the assignment?
Yeah, I got this time. I just didn't get it. I was so confused. And then I realized it's
And you
no
just
sign.
noted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't start the problems yet.
Oh, that's true.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah. What's up?
Why does the axis of symmetry x equals h? I don't think work.
it's going to be, so your vertex is h comma k. Your axis of symmetry is going to be a vertical line that passes right through your vertex. So the equation for a vertical line is x equals, and it has to pass through a vertex. It's going to be h.
Because H is the X.
You have to remember the x equals. I will count off if you
Is
don't.
the domain just negative infinity coming?
JT, you got to pay attention. What's that? Sorry. Domain is negative infinity, comma, positive infinity. Okay.
Always?
Yes, always for quadratic equations, it's always all reals. Okay. So can I go to the first problem now? So this is technically 1 times x minus 2 squared plus 0. Right? So what's my h here? We said it was what?
-2.
So very close.
No, 2.
Yeah, it's going to be the opposite of that number that's inside my parentheses. That's going to be positive 2 here, okay? What's my k? 0, right? It's the same as the number that's outside my parentheses, so it's going to be 0. With these two in mind, what's going to be my vertex and what's going to be my axis of symmetry? 2, 0 is the vertex. What's the axis of symmetry? X equals 2. Okay? All right, so then the graph, and then am I going to open up or down? Open up. And why is that? Because of that positive 1 there. Since that 1 is positive, I'm going to open up.
Oh, yeah, because we... Yeah, I forgot to do it with
Okay? So I'm going to plot that vertex to graph it. I just plot my vertex, and I'm going to open up. So I'm going to draw a right side up U.
So we could just draw like...
Yeah, does it matter like where like it's on the y-axis?
Not for when you're in vertex form.
Okay.
Wait, so it literally doesn't matter?
So you can make
For
it as
these.
wide as you want or as skinny as you want?
Yeah, for these, yeah. Yeah. And I open up. Okay, what's my domain? Negative infinity to positive infinity. Did you guys talk about interval notation last semester? Okay. It's going to be negative infinity to positive infinity. What's my range?
2.
That's right, so the range is always how far down to how far up I go. What's the farthest down I go? 0. Yes. So it's going to get a bracket or a parenthesis then? Bracket. Why do I get a bracket? Include 0, right? There's a solid dot on 0. Then what's the highest I go? Positive infinity parenthesis. Okay. I have been chosen. Okay, so that's it for the first one. Can I move on to the second one? All right. Okay, so now we're doing x squared plus 2. Is this in vertex form?
No. Yes.
Technically is. Kind of a trick question. How do I complete the square here?
It will be X plus 1 squared.
It's already completed. It'd be x plus 0 squared plus 2.
Wait, why?
So okay, everybody simplify this. X plus 0 is what? X.
0.
No.
X squared is just x squared. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay.
What's my h? What's my h is 0. What's my oh gosh. H is 0. What's my k? 2. So my vertex is what?
0.
Yeah, it's the same as the order of the letters in my last name. Okay, so H, comma K. So if you get stuck on a test, think, oh, Mr. Rushka gave me this test. R-U-S-H-K.
I'm not doing all classes. I don't know why you doing that.
What's my A here, guys? What's my A? My A is 1. So am I going to open up or down? Up. And that, why is that? A is positive. A is positive. And then what's my AOS? What's my axis of symmetry?
0.
X equals 0. X equals 0, okay?
Wait. I'm confused.
Yeah,
Where are
we're on B, part B.
we? Yeah.
Axis of symmetry, X equals whatever my H is. Yeah, I'll draw the axis of symmetry on this next one.
Okay, no, never mind.
Okay, so then I'm ready to graph. I just gotta plot that vertex, and then I'm opening up. So I'm gonna draw an up, a right side up U. Okay, and I'll plot my axis of symmetry so you can see it. It'll be this. Just like that, okay? Right, so it's symmetrical. Okay, and what's my domain? All reals. What's my range? 2 positive region. All right, can I move on to C? Okay.
Wait.
That's because she writes down. She said.
It's going to be opposite of that, but A is 1, up. That's kind of good. The axis of symmetry is going to be X equals.
That's scribbling.
Yeah.
My running looks easy.
I'm going to go on to C here, guys. What's my A here? -2. That's really important.
That means it's gonna be upside down.
Yes, it's going to open down. Think of negative down, positive up. And what's my H?
3.
Why is it not -3?
Because it's
The opposite of whatever's inside those parentheses. And what's my K? +4. HK. So what's my vertex then if I know my H and my K? 4. What's my AOS? X equals 3.
What is AOS mean?
Axis of symmetry. So it's a line that splits your parabola in half. It splits your graph.
Oh, that's okay. But
Yeah,
you
it's what this is
technically
called.
don't need to do that if you have vertices, right? Or like vertices.
Yeah, I didn't draw it on there, but this is where, yeah, we wanted those so you guys know.
Okay.
Wait, so your axis of symmetry is always H?
It's X equals H. Yeah.
Okay, so it's H.
So then I'm going to plot my vertex, 3, 4. I'm opening down, okay, so I got to draw an upside down U. Okay, what's my domain always for these? All reals, okay, range is what? What's the farthest down I go? I'm always bottom to top. The farthest down is what? Farthest up.
Oh my goodness.
I need you to text your free help.
Do you have any? I'm sorry, my hand's feeling so right now.
Can I move on to D? What's my A here for D? 1. So am I going to open up or down? What's my H? -1.
-1.
What's my K?
Wait,
-3.
wait.
Wait. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be, wouldn't it, wait. Oh, wait, never mind. Because I thought the first one was H, but the first one was A.
All right. Then what's my vertex then? If I know H and K. Yeah. What's my AOS? Yeah. That's not really good. Apricot?
Oh, look at you! You want some
Andrew.
got a motion at 9.
It's shaped. Okay.
You're supposed to do that.
So then to graph it, I just plot that point, and I'm going to draw what here? A right side up or an upside down U? It's going to be right side up, right? It's A by A is positive 1. So it's whatever, A is whatever is multiplied here in front of your parentheses. So it's just a 1.
Positive goes up.
Yeah.
So positive always is going up. Negative's always going down.
Negative's going down.
Okay.
What's my domain? What's my range? What's my range? You start at the bottom, right? It's like that, what's that, a Drake song? Started from the bottom? Start at the bottom, go to the top. Yeah, there you go. Now you're going to remember. Bottom to top for your range. Okay, the bottom is -3. Top is positive infinity. Okay?
Wait, what was the AOS?
Oh, sorry, I forgot AOS. It is -1. Sorry. I wrote the negative, I just didn't write the 1. You have to write it down. No, because we're through all the examples. That's what the homework's for. It's a great question. That's why I give homework. No, we need to do the other way, right? I mentioned there are 2 ways to graph these. We're done with the first way, right? So let's go to the second way. This is not in vertex form, right? There's no like parentheses. Okay, short answer, if you see an x variable, just a regular old x, it's not in vertex form. It's not in vertex form. If we wanted to put this in vertex form, what would we do? Complete the square, yes. But we're not the best. Not everyone likes doing that, okay? Not everyone likes doing that. So there's another way you can do it, okay? There's another way you can find h. There's another way you can find h. What is that way? Anyone know? Can anyone derive it right now? If you can, you probably shouldn't be in this class.
Can you just take out the x from the first two?
Wait, if we can drive it?
You can't factor this, yeah.
What'd you say?
Well, okay, you can't factor it. Oh, you're on the right track. We're not going to factor it yet. So I'm trying to find h, right? So I want the x coordinate of my vertex. What's my a? Let's pretend we're doing the quadratic formula. What's my a here? B is what? -4. What's my c? 4, yep. H is going to be equal. Okay, this is actually important, so write this down. H is going to be equal to the opposite of B over 2 times A. Star it, highlight it, okay, sign your name next to it. All right, get a tattoo of it.
B over 20
Guys, I got some ink. It's all math formulas. Got the quadratic formula. So what's that going to be here then? B is -4, so the opposite of B is what? +4, and then 2 times A is 2 times 1. That's 2. So my vertex is 2, comma. How do you think I find my K?
Wait, so what's that?
That was H that I just found. So the X coordinate of my vertex, right? So we have H up here, we have H down here, we just got to find it a different way. K is going to be equal to F of H. So you plug whatever your H is. So here I got 2 for H. I'm just going to plug that right into my function. Okay? It's going to be 2 squared minus 4 times 2 plus 4, which is what, 0? So my vertex is 2, 0, or still H, K. Same thing. What's my AOS then? It's still the same thing. X equals what?
I mean,
Like AOS?
2.
2. Wow.
Hold on, slow down.
Okay, slow down.
Because yeah, you just spit out a lot, and then you can just continue going with the problem. Let's just.
Wait, hold on. I have a question.
Yeah.
Where did the thing underneath? Oh, okay.
Which thing? This thing?
Plugging it in.
Oh,
F of
right
X.
here.
Oh.
Do you guys see how I found H then?
Here.
Okay, so then I found K. I took my H and I just plugged it into the function.
Okay, so F of H.
Yeah, F of H. So it's going to be 2. I just plugged 2 into the function for this one. So everywhere there's an x, I just made it a 2 and I calculated with
Then
my
that found
head.
K.
Yeah, that's your k.
What's that equal? 0.
Here it equals 0. So my vertex is still h comma k, 2 comma 0.
So K equals 0.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your a is the same thing from the previous problem. So my a here is still 1. So what's my direction of opening? Okay.
Oh, so you just write it down?
Yeah, I'm just writing stuff down. Yeah, so I kind of like labeled all my coefficients as if I were using the quadratic formula, but then I didn't use the quadratic formula. I just went another direction.
Why? How did you get 0?
I took my h, so I got 2 for h. I plugged that into the
But I'm saying that doesn't look right.
2 squared. Okay, we can do it on the board real quick. 2 squared minus 4 times 2 plus 4, okay? This evaluates to 4. That evaluates to 8 plus 4. 4 minus 8 is negative 4. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0. You okay? Okay. Okay, and then my y-intercept, it's always, always, always going to be 0 comma c. So what's my c here?
Negative
4.
4.
0 comma 4?
Okay.
Then for my x-intercepts, I set the whole thing, the whole equation equal to 0. And I solve for x. Okay? So it's kind of a fire hose today, but I think it's just a little bit to memorize. Excuse me. Okay, so I'm going to solve that equation to get my x-intercepts, okay? What is that? X times minus 2 times x minus 2. So I get x equals 2 as my only solution. My x equals 2, so when I go to write down my x-intercepts, do you think that's the x-coordinate or the y-coordinate of my x-intercepts?
What?
X. Okay, and then what's my y-coordinate for an x-intercept always? 0. 0. Yeah, I can zoom out.
So
Well, why would we do that if we already have our vertex?
x equals 2.
Because for this one, you do need to graph. You need to graph all.
Unnecessary. I could agree with that.
Okay, well,
Wait, why did we have to do
this is in the state standard, so what's that?
What?
Call up Eric Holker, what's that?
I will. What's this? Why did we do that?
To get my x-intercepts, I have to set the whole thing equal to 0,
But we already have x
and
equals.
then I have to solve for x.
But we already have x equals.
That's the axis of symmetry. That's not necessarily my x-intercept.
So they're not always going to be the same?
No, this is like a crazy coincidence, actually.
What?
That the axis of symmetry and my x-intercept are the same. Insane coincidence.
Then how does x equals h?
What's the minimum?
Well, that's for the
maximum
AOS. That's for
value?
the axis of symmetry.
Is minimum and maximum? What would
Okay.
that be?
So then we'll talk about that in a
Oh,
second.
that's domain and ranges.
So max and min value, that's always equal to k, actually. Okay? So here it's equal to what? 0, yeah. But I don't know whether that's a max or min until I've graphed. So I'm going to plot these 3 points I just highlighted in blue. 2, 0, 0, 4, and just 2, 0. And I'm opening up. So do I need, am I going to have a right side up U or an upside down U?
Right side up.
There you go. Okay. So is that max? Is that 0 there? Is that going to be a max or a min?
Minimum.
Min. 0 min. 0 min. So my max, the value itself is always going to be 6k, and it'll be a min if I'm opening up, right? It's going to be at the bottom. There is no max here. There's no max value here. I can show you guys how to prove it if you want during office hours, but that's beyond the scope of this course.
Nah, my hand hurts.
Can I move on to the next one?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So let's move on. Let's move on. So let's start. Let's label my coefficients here. Okay. Let's zoom in really close. All right. What's my A? Negative 1. My B is what? 2. Wow. What's my C? 8. Yep. So I need to get my vertex. So what's my H? Yep. So it's going to be -2. Is there a hand over here?
H equals negative b over 2a.
So my vertex is going to be 1, comma. How do I get that K? K is what? It's going to be f of 1. F of 1 means I plug in 1 to this equation. So f of 1 is going to be -1 squared plus 2 times 1 plus 8, which is 9. Yeah. So K is equal to 9. So my vertex is 1, comma 9. Has it 9? I think it's 11 maybe. Yes, this is a super good question. And actually I had to explain that in the last period too, which is why all this is up here. So when you're doing the quadratic formula, the instructions for the quadratic formula are that when you're doing the quadratic formula and your b is negative, you got to make sure you put it in parentheses and then square it. That's just what you do for the quadratic formula, right? This function doesn't have parentheses in it. So remember, we talked about this last semester a little bit. -1 squared in parentheses is +1. -1 squared without parentheses is negative. Yes.
But then there's also -1 on the outside, so it would still be positive.
So what happens is, yeah, so that's a really good question. So we plugged in 1, right? So this negative, what this means, if there's no parentheses here, this means -1 times whatever you're squaring. So it'll actually always be negative. 1 squared is 1, and then -1 times 1 is -1.
Nah, listen. So what I'm saying, no, because he didn't understand me.
I understand your question.
So there's negative x squared. There's a -1 outside.
It's -1 outside.
Yeah, so you're multiplying the -1 times the -1 squared. No?
No, so I'm not squaring A. I'm not squaring A. I'm squaring H. I'm squaring +1. I'm squaring +1. So I'm doing -1 times the +1 squared.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's right though.
And to answer your question, even if I did plug in a -1, -1 squared is positive. So it'd always be negative times positive, always be negative. Yeah, thank you. Good question, very good question. So what's my AOS then? X equals 1. What's my direction of opening and how do I know? Because what's negative? A is negative. So I'm going to open down. I'm going to open down because A is negative. Okay. So for direction of opening, you look at A. Just like we did for vertex form. Okay.
So, wait, x is symmetry, how'd you get 1 again?
X equals H. It's always X equals and then your H right here, which is 1. What's my y-intercept always?
0,
So here it's 0, 8. Where'd the 8 come from? It's 0, comma C. My C value here is 8. So my y-intercept is 0, comma 8. Okay. What's my max slash min going to be? It's going to be 9, right? It's going to be the same as my k. And once we graph it, we'll write down whether that's a max or a min so we can see it. How do I find my x-intercepts? I set the whole equation equal to 0. Okay. I'm going to put that in standard form real quick and then factor it, okay? What's that?
How is it not written in the same?
Standard form, my lead coefficient has to be positive. It's negative here. So I'm going to add over x squared, subtract over 2x, subtract over 8. I factor that to 4 and 2. So I get x equals negative 2 and x equals 4. These are the what coordinates of my x-intercepts? The x coordinates or the y coordinates? Yeah. Yep. And then 0 for the y coordinates. Highlight, 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 highlight. I'm going to graph those 4 points and connect the dots. Yep. Let's do my vertex. 1, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Wait.
Yeah.
What was the x-intercept?
X-intercept is negative 2, 0 and 4, 0. And I got that from setting the whole equation equal to 0 and solving for
I did
x.
that, but I didn't know that too.
You can have 2, you can have up to 2, you can have 0 as well. So for x-intercepts, you can have 0, 1, or 2.
No more, no less.
No more, no less. For a quadratic.
So 9 will be the minimum.
Oh, what's that?
No, I mean max.
Yeah, 9 is the max, yeah. So that max, that 9 here is a max. Let's draw my graph by connecting the dots, right? That peaks, right? The graph peaks at 9. Right?
Ooh, okay.
No.
Dang.
You can take a break at 3:15.
Bruh.
Wait,
Sorry, what? You can have 0, 1, or 2 of your x-intercepts. So if it crosses, if the u crosses twice, you have 2 x-intercepts. If it barely touches it, there's 1. And like you'll see when there's no x-intercept, it'll just be like floating. It'll be like just floating away from the axis. It'll be floating away. It will not be touching this at all.
Right.
It'll just be floating above it or like floating below it.
Like how it is
Yeah, like this one.
on D.
That has no x-intercepts. Yeah. It's just floating above it. Can I move on to the next one? Or not? Okay. What's my A? Negative 2. My B is what? My C is what? 0. Okay. So first off, what's my direction of opening and why? Down, and that's because A is negative. Right, Andrew?
Yeah.
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 He gets it.
He gets it. He's on it.
He's on it.
Always on it.
What's voters? The AirPod Pro out, please. Thank you.
Oh, Gen 2.
Gen 2. Okay. H. How do I find H here? It's going to be opposite of B over 2 times A. That's negative 8 over 2 times negative 10. Okay, so vertex is 2, comma. What's my K? How do I find that? It's going to be F of 2, right? We plug in that 2. So F of 2, can I do that on the board real quick?
Yeah.
So F of 2, that means I take my equation here, and everywhere there's an X, I change it to a 2. There's parentheses, the negative just not inside them. The negative's never in parentheses.
Wait, the AOS is setting your rate?
What's that?
Okay, never mind. Is it AOSK?
X equals H. H.
Oh, so the AOS is 2.
Yes, X equals 2.
And the vertex is. How do you find the vertex? Like that?
H, comma, K. So that's my K. My K is 8. It's going to be 2, comma, 8. Yeah, so I guess going back to Danny's question, you put whatever you plug in parentheses, but what this function says, it says always have a negative outside of them. Yeah. It's a better answer to your question. So sometimes you'll have like a negative inside your parentheses, and then you'll have another one outside. Yes? Yes. So my AOS is x equals 2. What's my y-intercept? 0, 0. How do I find my x-intercepts? Set the whole thing equal to 0 and solve. What's the best way to solve that equation? Yeah, so I'm going to pull out a negative 2x.
Wait,
You can put it in standard form and then factor. That's probably easier. Or yeah, do it however you want. Factor that however you want to. You'll get the right answer.
It shouldn't be a negative 2, it has to be a positive 2.
It doesn't have to. If you can do that in your head, like without making it a positive, that's okay. Okay, so then my two solutions are x equals 0 and x equals positive 4. So my two y-intercepts are 0, 0 and 4, 0. What's my maximum value going to be? K. It's going to be 8. It's always the same as K. And then plot these 4 points. Connect the dots. So look at my parabola. So is that 8? Is that 8 a max or a min? 8 max. Max fin. Max fin.
It's not that bad. A lot of practice.
Okay. Where we tripped up here? Where we tripped up so far? 2 roses and a thorn.
How to get everything.
How to get everything? You just gotta remember. You just gotta memorize opposite of B over 2A. F of H. What we're doing here on this second page of the notes is pretty much all memorized. Yeah. Memorization and then plug and chug.
Plug and chug is your best friend in algebra.
My best friend in algebra. Let's do D. Let's do D. Can I move on to D? Okay. We got 9 minutes. That's tons of time in math world. You know what I'm gonna do? Next time you guys want me to stop teaching like early, I'm just gonna like stop our next tester. Boom, got him. Got him. Like we only have 9 minutes left. Okay, everybody turn them in. That'd be great.
That would not be good, Mr. Rice.
That's so petty.
Okay. So what's my A here? What's my A? What's my B? 5. What's my C? 4. That's 4. Yeah. Yeah. You can do it on your own.
Okay, like for these examples, like
Yeah.
It's opening up.
Keep going. As long as you feel comfortable. So we're opening up. Why is that, Ava?
Because your A is positive.
My A is positive. Good. What's my H going to be? Opposite of B over 2A, so it's going to be negative 5 over 2. Oh, fraction. What's an easier way to work with fractions? Using your calculator. Okay, so I need to go ahead. I need to figure out what f of negative 5 halves is. Can I show you how to do that with your calculator?
Not really.
Okay, well, let's get your calculator out.
Yeah.
You don't know how to use it, so that's why you're in class.
I charged it up actually. I charged it up.
So here's how I'm going to do that. So I need to take that negative 5 halves, and and I need to plug it into my equation. So first I need to go to the y equals screen and enter that equation in, which I already did. Alright, which I already did. This is my third time learning this.
Wait,
X squared plus 5x plus 4, that's the problem, right? Okay? Andrew Barringer, he knows what's going on. Always.
Pretty smart guy.
Always.
Besides for those tests, but it takes those tests.
Okay, so I got that entered in. Here's what I can do now. I'm going to go back to the main screen. So I'll do second quit.
Yeah.
And I want to do y1 of negative 5 halves. Here's how I do that. Okay? I hit the vars key, the varsity key. Okay? Varsity key. The vars, okay? I go over to y bars. Get that right here. I want the y bars menu. Okay? Hit enter. Okay? We want to select the y1 function. Okay? And then we're going to do parentheses with negative 5 halves in it, just like we wrote down in our notes. So it's going to be y1 of, left parenthesis, negative 5 divided by 2y. Okay? Right parentheses. Hit enter, boom. You don't have to do any math. I just need to know what buttons to press.
Like, why can't you just do like negative 5 divided by 2?
Like just do that in your cat. No, so this did not do negative 5 over 2. This plugged negative 5 over 2 into this equation and spit out the result. Okay, how do I make that a fraction? Just for fun, how do I make that a fraction?
Second.
I hit math. I select the frac option. You hit the math button. It's underneath the green button. Math.
All the way to the left.
You want the frac option? Okay, that's going to give you the wrong answer. And then just hit enter, and it'll make that answer a frac.
Does it have to be a perfect fraction?
If you gave me the answer to this in decimal, I'd take it.
Because sometimes I put my calculator, it like doesn't spit out in fraction.
It gives you a decimal. Okay, well hit math, answer fraction.
I did, no, then I do that. And
Wait,
I just keep
is
it.
that-
Yeah, it only does it if it's a rational number. If it's an irrational number, it can't do that. It literally, like, logically cannot do that. Like, not even God can do that. No, God cannot do contradictions. He cannot write an irrational number as a fraction. Because an irrational number is by its very definition a number which cannot be written as a fraction. That'd be like God. God cannot do contradictions because contradictions have no meaning. So it doesn't actually cut into God's power at all. It just means like he can't do things that have no meaning. So he can't like that's literally the. I'm so sorry. That's a horrible digression. You guys got me going. It's a horrible digression.
Okay,
What's my axis of symmetry?
X equals God.
What's my y-intercept?
0, 4.
How do I get my x-intercepts? Set the whole thing equal to 0 and solve. I'm not an atheist. I just made the concept of omnipotence more coherent for you, actually.
you know what you kind of.
I only have 4 minutes.
You know who you kind of remind me of?
I'm sorry.
Mr. Rocha, you know who you kind of remind me of?
Ew.
Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory.
Oh my.
Stop! My social skills are better than
You did it way too dirty.
It's better than the Jeffrey Dahmer comment.
Did somebody call you Jeffrey Dahmer?
So what are my x-intercepts? If my two solutions here are -4 and -1, what are my two solutions? Yep. Yep. And then my min/max is going to be what? What's my k? -9/4. So let's plot these 4 points here. If you want to plot the vertex as a decimal to make it easier for you, that's okay.
Would you be rising or
So it's negative 2.5, so I went over 2.5 to the left. Negative 2.25, so I went down a little bit over 2. And then negative 4, 0. Negative 1, 0. Okay, there you go. We'll stop there today. Do the homework for Friday. Oh wait, is my negative 9/4 at a min or a max? Min. Okay. I apologize to anyone who sat through this whole video.